What is up, FPL managers guys? Today we are going to be looking at the best differentials you can buy for game week 11 and onwards. So yeah, like and subscribe and let's get right into it. We are going to be looking at 6 players with all fairly low ownership guys. None of these players are high owned, obviously they're differentials. And I'm going to tell you why they are the best differentials for you to buy. We're going to be looking at 3 forwards and 3 midfielders. So first off, let's get started on the forwards. Now the first two are kind of similar. First up, we're going to be looking at Cunha from Wolves. Now guys, Cunha's expected data here is a bit different than you'd expect. He's more leaning towards the expected assists than the expected goals. But even then, he's still scoring many goals. He's still overperforming his expected goals, which is what he normally does anyway. So we cannot be surprised there. I do imagine Cunha will not be that much of a differential for too much longer because he has the most insane fixture run and he is the most popular Wolves asset along with Nori. So yeah, if you do want Cunha, get on him early because he's not going to be differential for much longer. He's soon going to be a player you worry about if he's not in your team. Now, kind of doing a 2 for 1 here, we're going to be looking at Strand Larsen right after Cunha. Now these guys, they're very similar in some ways. Their fixture run is obviously the exact same. Strand Larsen is also 1 million cheaper, a much cheaper forward. Probably the best value forward under 6 mil at 5.5 mil. He is a steal, so if you can't afford Cunha, definitely go for Strand Larsen. As you can see here, Strand Larsen is the main striker. He's getting the expected goals for Wolves, none of the expected assists. Now, for both these Wolves players, the expected data is quite low, but they have had some really hard games before, this good fixture run, so their data is not going to be amazing, so I imagine it will pick up. You've got to think ahead here, guys. It's probably going to get bigger. If I had to choose between Cunha and Strand Larsen, it would be a very tough choice. I'm not actually bringing either in next game week, but they're both very good for different reasons. Obviously, you've got Strand Larsen. He is the main striker. He's the main focal point, the guy that's supposed to score. But obviously, Cunha is probably the best Wolves attacker. He plays as more of a left winger now. He gets expected goals and expected assists. And if money wasn't an option, I'd probably pick Cunha, but Strand Larsen at 5.5 mil I think would really tempt me quite a lot. So yeah, when you choose between these guys and you want to make your decision, I guess one thing is if you want to play it safe, go Cunha. If you want to play it risky, go Strand Larsen. And if money is an object and you need to save that extra 1 million, Strand Larsen is definitely worth the 5.5. Now guys, on to the third forward of this video. We're going to be looking at a player who was previously the highest owned in the game, going all the way back to game week 1. We've got Isak here from Newcastle. Now guys, Newcastle did have a rough patch, but you see Isak, the expected goals are up and he's finishing them off as well, and the good fixture run is about to happen. Obviously, playing away to Forest is not the easiest game to bring him in for, but I don't expect Forest to keep a clean sheet in that game. The thing I love about Isak at the moment is the fact he is a differential and he is a pretty safe one to go for at that. Most of these guys on here, they're kind of a bit risky to go for. Some people you may regret choosing. Isak, I can't imagine how it would end badly. Like, the predicted points are so high. Newcastle are a good team that are going to push for European football, They need to get some points and he is the main goal scorer by far. You've got Anthony Gordon as well, but his data isn't as good. You also have to consider the fact Isak is on penalties. And guys, there is a reason he was the highest owned player in the game. I mean, he didn't really show that he was worth being the highest owned player in the game, but I do think he's found his form now. He is putting away the goals and Newcastle have started playing well. So if you've got the money for a forward like Isak in your bank, maybe you want to sell Watkins, maybe you're someone who's trying to sell Haaland, he is probably the one to go for. On to the midfielders now, guys. This differential is a risky one. We are looking at Bruno Fernandez. Now guys, the Bruno Fernandez expected data, as you can see here, is quite good. 0.6 expected goal involvements per 90 for someone who is guaranteed to play 90 minutes. It's very solid if you're looking at this next fixture run in the next 3 games in particular. Home to Leicester, away to Ipswich and home to Everton. That is huge. That is a great 3-game run that Bruno could pick up a return in every game. Obviously, he is known for massively underperforming the expected goals and the expected assists. In fact, he is kind of underperforming the expected goals at the moment as well. So that's why it's risky. He's a low-owned player that could easily just mess you up completely, like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Someone who's going to get all the data and just not get any points from it. With that being said, Bruno in the last 3 games has got 2 goal involvements. He is going to stay a differential. He's got penalties, corners and free kicks. Not to mention that new manager boost is coming in game week 12. And under this manager, he is going to be keeping an advanced role. He's going to be one of the 3 main attackers, so probably more advanced than he was, probably playing as a right forward or a left forward. So his appeal is going to go way higher he's going to be a lot more directly involved in these attacking chances and the counter attacks. But like I said, just be careful because he's one of those players who can let you down. So when you make this transfer, make sure you know there's a risk. I'm going to captain Bruno Fernandez in game week 11 because I've got big balls, you know. If any of you want to do it with me, feel free to join me. Now, guys, we have Jarrod Bowen next. Now, Jarrod Bowen, he's got a tough run of games. Well, in the next 4, he plays 2 easy games, but he also plays away to Newcastle and home to Man City. And that seems real bad on paper, but it's not the worst. I mean, if you think about how often Man City actually keep a clean sheet, you can kind of expect West Ham to score when they're playing at home. And Jarrod Bowen is hogging all the expected goals and all the expected assists for West Ham. So even though I would label these games as red fixtures, they're not easy. When you need your team to get a goal in these hard games, Jarrod Bowen for West Ham is that guy who's going to be getting them. You know, I think what I'm saying makes sense. You know, he is the talisman basically. He is someone who can score in any game for West Ham. Then obviously in the easy games, Jarrod Bowen along with other West Ham players can run riot. Because West Ham, they're picking up in form. They started off terrible this season, but they started attacking a lot better recently over these past 4 or 5 weeks. So it's something not many people are going to be thinking of. If you own Jarrod Bowen, you're going to be getting points that no one else is getting. Also, a little bonus is that after these, 2 hard games away to Newcastle and home to Man City, West Ham have the best fixture run across the next 6-7 games after that. So he is a very good long-term option. You've got to keep that in mind, especially if you don't have a wild card. And finally, we're going to be looking at a player who had loads of hype around him in the early stages of FPL. We are going to be looking at Seeno, who surprisingly a lot of people have sold already, which I don't understand. I mean, saying that, I sold him, but I sold him a while ago, you know. I saw some people sell him last game week and I was a bit confused because the Bournemouth fixture run is really not that bad at all. I mean, it's not amazing like some of the other fixture runs we've seen so far. He is kind of lower on the expected data than he was before. But then again, Bournemouth did just have a hard run of games. That's why a lot of people either benched him or sold him through those hard few games. So looking at his expected data, it's quite low. But it is the highest throughout all of Bournemouth still, okay? And 0.4 expected goal involvements per 90 for someone who's less than 6 mil, guys. You have to understand that is a huge bargain. He's also a player who I imagine will stay differential for a while, just because, a lot of people have recently sold him. It's very rare that people sell a player then buy him a few game weeks later. And the final thing about Seeno is, in terms of the AI point predictions, he is way higher than any other midfielder under 6 million. Like, a lot higher across the next 4 to 6 game weeks. Anyway, guys, that is my list of the top 6 differentials for you to buy in game week 11. These players will last you long term. They will also last you short term as well. There could be good short term options, especially if you're looking at a wildcard 12 like me. Anyway, guys, if you did make it this far, you are greatly appreciated. I hope I bestowed upon you some great knowledge. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video.